The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma. So, Oliver, Nika, thank you so much for this opportunity and for this very short notice coming from myself. Thank you so much. Nika, let me begin with the final figures. I mean, the official one, what we have due to the 2024 quarter one. Let me be more accurate with the figures. I mean, announced. Loans increased by 127%, deposits by almost 76%. TBC Uzbekistan generated over 18.5 million Georgian lari in profits, and which is about 46% growth year to year. So tell me, what do you attribute this increase to?
So basically, firstly, I attribute it to the very good execution.
Okay.
And the execution and the team that we have. Basically, we have fantastic team assembled in Uzbekistan, which is basically, we say internally, 17 different ethnicities. So we have people from all around the world, not only from Georgia and Uzbekistan. Great experiences, great capabilities. One. Second, the country has a massive potential. And third, I would say the strategy that we are running. We are very consistent in terms of what we are doing. We are very strict in terms of sequencing our steps. Basically, we know exactly what comes after what. So all these three items together give us the chance of performing in the way you were describing just now.
Tell me about the products. I mean, the list you're offering right now to the local market, I mean, Uzbekistan. Just tell the list and also your plans in this regard till the end of 2024 or already, I mean, like in a pipeline to be launching for the next year.
So firstly, in Uzbekistan, we are now operating commercially for 4 years, 4 full years. In these 4 years, we managed to have 3 companies in Uzbekistan. One is TBC Uzbekistan, the digital bank. The second one is PayMe, one of the biggest payment apps in the country. And the third one is PayMe Nasia, one of the biggest installment lending businesses, point-of-sale installment lending business in the country. So all these companies, of course, have their products. But in terms of total product portfolio, we are very big in P2P transfers. We are one of the biggest in consumer lending. The market share, the final figures reached almost 16% in consumer finance. We have deposit products, of course. Our loan book is almost fully financed by local retail SUM deposits. We have, of course, card products. So we are now launching a credit card. We are tapping into MSME market very soon in September. We'll be launching a fantastic current account product very soon, also in September. So the pipeline is very rich, but the current products are also quite rich as well. We are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, utility payments provider in the country. So customers pay utilities and different services through our apps. So basically, we are launching BNPL, like real BNPL, through PayMe very soon. So all this brings us to a very big product pipeline and also a very good platform of current products, which are giving the results you were mentioning.
Correct. And I hope, not hope, I will be witnessing this personally while traveling to Uzbekistan definitely this year, and just to meet you there as well. Oliver, thank you again for this opportunity, and please share with us your role and plans in TBC again, and it's a pleasure hosting you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Please.
So, basically, I'm head of international business, but one of the decisions that we all took when I joined TBC back in September last year, that was my formal start in the company. Before that, I was an advisor for around 6 months. One of the first decisions was that we triple down in Uzbekistan. Yeah, so I'm head of international, but international is Uzbekistan for the time being. So at some point we will look at market number 3, but at the moment it's all about Uzbekistan. So 110% of Nika's time, 110% of my time is going on execution in Uzbekistan and building hopefully a very big and beautiful business. The opportunity is enormous, the potential's incredible, and as Nika was saying, the team that we have, the technology stack, the initial start, the fact that we've already reached profitability and we're scaling up on all sorts of different fronts, as you just heard, our product pipeline, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Is it a sort of I don't know how to say, sharing the same success story or replicate what you've done with Tinkoff and its team? I mean, more precisely,
Sure. So there are not that many successful digital banks in the world. Yeah. So if you look around, there are really 4, I would say, standout names. So there's Kaspi in Kazakhstan, which is obviously a very important reference for us because it's in the region in Central Asia. Tinkoff in Russia, which, despite everything that's happened, is still doing very well and growing. It's up to about 40 million customers, I think, now, so it's huge. Nubank in Brazil, which is the real poster child of fintech and digital banking at the moment. They're doing an absolutely amazing job. I think they're up to 100 million customers, would you believe, and very profitable. And the 4th, wait for it, is TBC Uzbekistan. And I'll say that deliberately because there are very few consumer lending-led, fully licensed, deposit-funded, profitable and scaling digital banks in the world. So they're basically the 4 that come to mind. It's just people don't know about TBC Uzbekistan yet. So to answer to your question, there's no point in copying things. Yeah? You can be inspired by things. You can ideologically borrow from things. Maybe draw on the philosophy and even some of the know-how of different stories. But we're in Uzbekistan, we're TBC. We've got a very different bunch of people, a different idea, a different mission. We're very mission-driven, ideas-driven, and what we will build will not replicate anything else, Tinkoff or otherwise. So this will be a very different story in a very different market for very different people. But obviously from a kind of eagle's eye view, there will be some similarities with other successful digital banks.
I'm always trying to share Nika Kurdiani's enthusiasm and optimism in this regards, while he was so much, I don't know, he was sharing with all of us with his first attempt moving to the Uzbekistan market. And could you guys share with our viewers and followers some insights from the Uzbekistan market, Nika, and also lessons learned, positive, negative. We are in a process. We cannot replicate Tinkoff or other banks' success or downfall, whatever it is, but please, just share some insights.
Yeah, so maybe I will start from a bit of Georgian perspective and move to Uzbekistan. So firstly, why did we move to Uzbekistan, and why generally we decided to expand to other country? Because our country is developing very quickly. It offers very good growth rates, but it has a natural limitation of 3.5 million people. So naturally, Uzbekistan now counts 37 million people. When we entered Uzbekistan was around 32 million, so it is growing. Last year, the statistics told us that basically there were newborn kids, approximately 1 million. So the country has a fantastic demographics and population pyramid. The average age stands around 29 years, and this is getting younger every year because the birth rate is so high. So basically, when you think out of a smaller country and you are already having significant market shares, and your market cap overall, we are listed in London, right? So is reaching certain levels, you have to think how to increase it further. So this was our bet. So we are sure that delivering in Uzbekistan, and if we execute well, and we will execute well, basically will offer a boosting effect for TBC in Georgia and overall for TBC Group everywhere. And that was the ideology or the narrative why we moved there. Well, again, Uzbekistan population is one. Secondly, the country is growing fantastically. It grew on average 5% last several years, and it is forecasted to grow another 5% next several years. So all this give you a fantastic possibility to penetrate. Digital figures are amazing as well. Smartphone penetration is massively high. Internet penetration is very good. Payments penetration is very good. There are 46 million cards on the population of 37 million in circulation. So this gives you a very good infrastructure to really go in, offer something innovative, and then build one of the showcase banks globally, This will be my answer, I don't know.
Yeah, so if I could just maybe develop that. So that's the context, that's Uzbekistan. Why TBC selected Uzbekistan as the market to go international. The first market, and it's all the reasons that Nika's just said and many more I can only echo. So Uzbekistan is a fantastic, open place to do business, very supportive. But then there's the TBC platform, which is no less important. So, you know, there could be a huge market opportunity, but if you don't have the right prerequisites to capture that opportunity, then you won't be able to have a successful business and a successful scale-up. And so I briefly touched on this, but it's worth repeating the team. So just the Georgian approach, very progressive, commercial, tech-driven, yeah, which is extremely important. So that's the kind of like backdrop against which we're operating. And one that I feel very welcome in and very comfortable in as an environment. It's a great commercial environment. So TBC took the decision to build a separate tech stack. So it's a separate platform for Uzbekistan because it's a different business, which is super important. And it's one of the mistakes that many incumbent banks have made over the years, to try and build something inside as opposed to do it completely separate. And the organization is different, the organizational structure for TBC Uzbekistan is different. There's a different type of person being hired into that organization. It's not replicant of what's happening in Georgia, which is very important because it's a different business model. It's a different business. So basically there's freedom to create, to move quickly, fail quickly, learn quickly, scale with a license, with the ability to fund ourselves through retail deposits in Uzbekistan, and choose the products that we need to develop to enter the market in a deep way in Uzbekistan and really change the lives of Uzbeks in terms of financial services. So it ticks all the boxes. It's just a great start.
We face some turbulent period, and we know from the very beginning that 2024 in general will not be either year, another turbulent year for the whole world, while 80% of the world GDP, we have elections, re-elections, some political changes, and we knew it from the very beginning. At the same time, all this reflects on the markets, Nika, and we cannot be exemption in this regards. We are part of the world, and we are facing all the challenges what we have around. How do you describe the current situation, and what's your thought in this regards?
You know, the key to success, in my opinion, and I do believe in this, is a long-term planning, and you should never run short-term games. We are not sprinters, we are marathon runners. So basically, we have a vision, we go towards that vision, we are building stories that last many, many years. TBC just turned over 30 years old, right? So basically we are building Georgian history. I mean, this is Georgian success. Now we are building another success already in Uzbekistan, and we have vision which is for many years. And these turbulences, I mean, they happen every now and then. So the stocks go up, stocks come down, you know, and they grow again. Now, if you look at the big names, like, I don't know, I don't want to mention, but lots of big names in the world, they all had ups and downs, and this is not attributed to the companies, this is attributed to the general geopolitics, you know, sometimes economic events, many things happening in the world. So that's why, you know, I feel very calm, because I am totally sure that we are executing very well. We have fantastic people in our team, and this all is growing, you know, so basically the fundamentals are right. Now, what is happening around us, we have no impact on this, so basically this will come and go, but what we have to do is we have to execute, you know, and this is the name of the game.
Yeah, maybe just to add a little bit of perspective on that. So maybe two kind of points. First is that you shouldn't look at short-term share price, because that's driven by all sorts of external factors which you know, come and go, and the markets are very fickle, especially when, as you say, there's lots of stuff happening in electoral cycles and whatever else. You look at the fundamental business numbers. Is the company fulfilling the guidance that it's given to the public investors, to the market? Is the company performing in a way that is fundamentally healthy, yeah, in terms of long-term value creation? So you look through the share price. The share price is for the investors. It's a bit of an irrelevance when you're building, you know, big business over a long period of time like we are. And fundamental investors look that way as opposed to speculative investors. That's very important. So that's the first point. The second point is from my personal history. Yeah? So I was with Tinkoff for 16 years from the very beginning, built it from nothing, I mean literally nothing, into something. And we took it public in 2013, and everything that could happen happened during that period. We went through 3 very severe crises. And the share price, you know, went from 3 billion when we listed in London down to less than $300 million a couple of years later, and then up to $25 billion, and then fell a little bit. I think it's currently trading around about $8 billion. Shares go up and down. It's mainly externally driven rather than internally driven, and that's not how you run the business. So I'm very kind of sanguine about it.
Okay, the last question, but not the least, tell me about your plans of further expansion while covering international directions. TBC plans to more concentrate on the existing market of Uzbekistan, or you guys are still thinking about further expansion, and maybe in the horizon you still have some identifiers in this regards? Oliver, please.
Sure, yeah. So this is a story made in Georgia, now being made in Uzbekistan, and as I said earlier, this is something that we're tripling down, quadrupling down in Uzbekistan. Yeah, so there's a big opportunity to capture. We really want to make a positive impact on the Uzbek consumer and Uzbekistan in general. And as I say, Uzbekistan is being very welcoming and supportive in that, so it's great. Symbiotic relationship. We have something to bring, but in order to do this, it requires time, it requires execution, it requires focus. We don't want to get detracted or distracted by other stuff. Once we know that we're really on the right track in Uzbekistan, then it's time to think about market number 3. So there will be market number 3, we just don't know where. And I reckon we'll start to, have maybe some boots on the ground the next 2 or 3 years. But, we're not in a rush. We want to get Uzbekistan right.
I would just add several points. TBC has the mission of making people's life easier. And this mission is very strongly communicated inside the company, because everybody has to think through this lens. But there is a second aspect to it, which is making a strong Georgian case globally. And I think we are on this mission as well, and this is what makes all TBC employees within the whole group very proud, because we are building something, from scratch. We built something from very scratch in Georgia in 1992, right? We got the license, and the capital requirement was $500,
$500,
if I remember correctly. So, and now we are running the Uzbekistan story, and this all creates the new TBC. A global TBC, So I personally have this big ambition, basically, to create one Uzbekistan. Maybe we go next country in 2-3 years, and then another country, and so on and so on. So this is something very big, very strong. We are one of those companies who is developing the modern economic history of this country, and this makes us very, very proud, and this drives us, to be honest.
Can I just add something else to that? Because we're talking about Uzbekistan, but during this conversation, but this is very much about Georgia as well. So I just don't want to lose the point that TBC Georgia is growing very profitably. It's an extremely successful player, and there are really not many banks in the world that make a 26% ROE, and TBC overachieved that number last year. I mean, it's quite amazing. So, we're talking about Uzbekistan because that's a high growth market with a very different tech model. But Georgia is doing amazingly as well, so for TBC.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks for
to continue our conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.